I mean, Hinduism, I think we should all take our lead from Hinduism in that respect. That it doesn't matter which deity you're talking about. It's really just one manifestation of the divine. So if you have 99 names for God in Islam, it's not 99 gods, it's 99 different ways in which God expresses himself. So I think the mystery of the Trinity is just, the mystery of what are the three primary expressions of the divine, of the Godhead. It makes good sense to me.
And then there's also, every time the Bible talks about angels, it also refers to them as like men. So,
right.
So, for all you know, I could be an angel.
You could be an angel. Well, I've introduced myself as an angel before, and I don't know that I was wrong. What Art Scroll says is that the reason that when they're with Abraham, they're men. When they're with Lot, they're angels, and the reason is that to Abraham, encounters with the angelic were so routine that an angel's just another guy to him, whereas Lot was overawed by the angels, and this is why they were actually angels. And then the other possibility is that they were in fully human form. But yes, it's just to say men. Well, the other definition of angelic, it said in Judaism, is that it's a function ordained by God. So anyone who is performing a function ordained by God, I suppose, is an angel.
Right, messengers.
Yes, or messengers or divinely inspired performers.
It says in chapter 18, verse 11, now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. And elsewhere it says that like Abraham was around 100 and Sarah was around 90. But according to one interpretation I read, that in those days they had different ways of counting years or something, so it really cut it in two. So really Abraham's around 50, Sarah's around 40, which kind of makes more sense.
Right.
But anyway, they're old, and like Sarah's no longer the hottie that she was.
Right. That's interesting. I've not heard that before as an explanation for the advanced years, but it makes a kind of sense. First of all, Judaism has both the temporal calendar and the spiritual calendar, and I think they're pretty much. I mean, if you were to break it up into four rather than four, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, you could each year could really be 2 years then if back then they were counting both of them. I don't know.
I like the way Sarah says it. It sounds kind of like something you'd hear in a Philip Roth novel. Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "Now that I am withered, am I to have enjoyment with my husband so old?" I mean, that's so brutal.
Yeah,
it's something you'd read in Philip Roth.
Right. Well, and here the translation is, after I have withered, shall I again have delicate skin, and my husband is old! Exclamation point. Yes. Well, Sarah was realistic, I guess. I don't know. I think people who lived in those times were a little more in touch with kind of inevitable natural rhythms. So for a woman at that time, I'm wrinkled. That's that. That has all the consequences being wrinkled has. It includes that my husband doesn't want to stick me. Whereas now, people try to pretend they're younger or get Botox or whatever.
Yeah, you don't get. Are there any good marriages in Bereshit? Oh, maybe Isaac and Rebecca. Because he loved her, right? He found comfort with her. So.
Right.
But then she did deceive him with Jacob and Esau.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, and also finding comfort in her. I mean, it's not. That doesn't necessarily a good marriage make, the husband finding comfort in the wife. I mean, first of all,
sounds good to me.
Well, it's nice. But the wife has to get something out of it as well. I mean, a man.
But she made him feel comfortable.
Yeah, but
shouldn't that be enough?
Well, it depends. I mean, the question is what made him comfortable. Some men, there are sociopaths who get great comfort out of objectifying and dehumanizing a woman in the most terrible ways. So they get comfort out of it. That doesn't necessarily mean they have a good marriage. It's a sadistic marriage. So, it's good that he got that Isaac got comfort out of Rebecca. But there's more to the story and more to a good marriage than that. So I don't know. And based on, and certainly from the role model that he had, his father, which is where we learn how to behave toward women in a lot of ways. Yeah, this was not what he learned. Is that when the chips are down, pimp your lady. Like that's not a good lesson. So I don't know. I wouldn't trust that they had a good marriage either. I think we can't look to them. We can't look to the patriarchs for this sort of thing. I mean, they don't. They were like Mormon fundamentalists in their plural marriage and polygamy. They did a lot of So I don't think we can look to them too much for models of how to behave toward in our marriages and toward our women.
So the sin of Sodom, according to Nachum Sana's commentary here on Book of Breshit, JTS commentary, sin of Sodom is heinous moral and social corruption, an arrogant disregard of basic human rights, a cynical insensitivity to the sufferings of others. The indictment of Sodom lies entirely in the moral realm. There is no hint of cultic offense, no whisper of idolatry. As with the flood story, the Sodom and Gomorrah narrative assumes the existence of a universal moral law that God expects all humanity to follow. The idea that there is an inextricable connection between the social and moral behavior of a people and its ultimate fate is one of the pillars upon which the entire biblical interpretation of history stands. What did you find so amusing?
Well, several things. There is something intrinsically humorous about this two newcomers coming into a city and having the men who are undeterrable in their insistence on flooding the house of those two newcomers. You very rarely encounter that kind of passion for male on male rape. But that's not funny, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Read the Oscar description. You were cracking up before on camera.
Yes,
no.
I do.
Not so funny.
Well, it's funny to me, but
what was the
but there were other things.
Description of the when the Outscroll commentary says that when newcomers. Based on Midrash, when newcomers would come to Sodom, they'd sodomize
that was good. No, and the poor and the needy.
The poor and the needy.
So Lot was able to come to Sodom as a newcomer because he was wealthy and well connected.
Right.
But when poor and needy newcomers came to Sodom,
they
knew how to handle them, and that was all of the men got together and would rape the poor and needy. And yes, and that is also...
So that kept the welfare...
That describes illegal immigration. I mean, it basically describes it like that indigent newcomers, indigent kind of unskilled newcomers were dissuaded from coming to Sodom because they knew that when the indigent come to Sodom, it's go time. So that's funny. Yes, it's intrinsically funny. It's also out of my kind of ken, my range of knowledge for ways to deter illegal immigration. We just had such a vigorous debate in this country about what to do about it. And not once did anyone look to the Torah because, but I guess the Torah was, and it does say that Sodom, or at least in the commentary, that Sodom was actually a very harmonious society. There was not things seemed well there. There was not social discord. So it seemed to be a well administered society, except for the supposedly terrible pathologies that raged, private pathologies that raged among people. But anyway, so it worked. That worked. I guess that really would dissuade people from coming. But there were other funny things.
What else did you find so amusing about the Torah?
The typical. Also, they were self-assured. The men of Sodom were very self-assured. Mm-hmm. So the Art School commentary at one point derisively refers to the typical self-assurance of a sodomite. I don't know, and that just
isn't that so true today with all the Prop 8 protesters? Once again, we see the typical self-assurance of the sodomite.
That's right,
rearing its ugly head.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting that self-assurance is, in this case, then a byproduct of the most horrible types of behavior. I don't know. I guess maybe there's truth to it. But you would think that the Bible would promise us self-assurance as a result of righteous behavior rather than being a typical sodomite. Because every guy wants to be self-assured, I think. So I don't know.
Sodomy is not necessarily the most healthy path to self-assurance, boys and girls.
Right, but perhaps the most effective. And also, I find it staggering, and I'm not the first to find this staggering, but that Lot offers up his two daughters as kind of a scapegoat.
Why do you find that? So Lot hosts the angels, and then the men come to his house trying to knock down the house to get at the angels, and luck goes to you. Please, I